Good morning and welcome to Sports Desk Live on Comcast 726, also streamed on our Facebook page. I'm your host, Ed Nunez, along with our producer, Alden Iowani, our very special guest today, St. Mike's boys basketball coach, Dakota Montoya. 2 weeks ago, his Horsemen beat Las Vegas Robertson 70-57. Coach Montoya becomes the 9th Horseman coach to win a title at St. Mike's. Coach, we couldn't be happier to have you on today. Congratulations. Good to have you with us.
Absolutely. Yes, sir, Ed. Thanks for having me. I've always been a fan of your show, and when you called, it was definitely a great opportunity. Appreciate that.
You know, I got to say, it made me feel good. We reach out, Coach, to everybody. We try. I've reached out to, we've reached out to corners of the state. And I looked at you when I did your game against Santa Fe Indian with Coach Segura, Coach Damian Segura, who's a former Horseman. Man, I was impressed. I really was. The McCoy brothers, Kamal Stith, Ryan Hunt, Donovan Ricker, Noah Reedus. That roster, Coach Segura always calls it Noah's Ark. You got two of everything, and there, you made some plays in that game. You beat Santa Fe Indian, and you beat them in a close game earlier. But talk a little bit about. We're going to go into a lot of things because you got a background that. You've played, coached the Mescalero Apache, Texaco at Clayton. You came a long way, Coach. When I saw that, I know James Baron very well. I know Will Weber. Tell us a little bit about the horse. What a 25-6, a fantastic season. Tell us a little bit about how you feel about it.
Oh, it was just a lot of fun, a lot of growth, not only for myself from last year to this year, but from the team. Year two, I think you saw just a team that was more comfortable with each other, a coaching staff more comfortable with each other, and a program that was in year two, learning and growing still, but not having to start from the ground. And it was real nice to just kind of build on what we did last year. And it put us, I think, ahead of the game, or at least even with the game this time, regarding everybody else in our class. And we had system down, we had familiarity. Coaching staff we knew how each other worked. The team was familiar with my style of coaching. So it was a lot of fun, a lot of growth, and I think it showed on the basketball court.
You know what? It did. There's no doubt about it. I mean, the teamwork. And I love the McCoy. They're brothers, right? Are they brothers?
Yep.
The McCoy brothers. I love them. Stith is a guy that gets down. He's strong. The quarterback in football, am I right? He's the quarterback.
Sure.
Ryan Hunt, I call him the human pogo stick because that guy can boom. He's bouncy. He's strong. He can finish. You look at Donovan Ricker, who's a little, he's got some girth on him, but he's got some footwork, man. I love his footwork. He'll go up. He'll drop step. Put it up with the left, so that's a very hard team. When you're looking across from that, in Santa Fe Indian, when we talked about them, of course, our hearts went out to the Abedas, man. That was tragic, that was tragic. And Coach Segura brought that up about them passed away in that car accident before the season. They were playing with heavy hearts, but they gave you everything they had. The championship against Robertson, Coach Bustos, you guys know each other well, man. You lost by 2 points. That was you won. You ended the season winning 16 of 17. Did you look at that as a measure of revenge in the championship game? I mean, you see them all year long anyway. I don't know if you caught revenge, but that was the last game you had lost before you went on the streak.
Yeah, not only that, but just a little bit of some pride in wanting to get back not only to the championship, but very glad we got to see them because they did beat us last year in the championship. So it was a great measuring stick. They're a great program. He's a great coach. I have a lot of respect for Coach Bustos. That team, they gave us that loss. When they gave us that loss, I think it was a blessing. Truthfully, we were playing really good basketball. We hadn't had our full team probably up until the first round, maybe the district champ. No, not even the district championship. We're missing Noah Reedus. But I think the first round of the state tournament was the first time we had our full team since Tularosa at the fifth or sixth game of the year. So just getting into that cycle of those stretch of games, we were playing really well. We were just plugging and playing guys as we needed them. And then Robertson, we ran into Robertson, and credit to those guys. They played extremely hard. They knocked down huge shots. And like I said, that program has a lot of pride. They've been in the state championship, the past 5 years. So we knew anything kind of goes with them. We kind of expect those type of games. The first time, it was really kind of interesting because you look at our schedule and it was almost identical to last year, aside from the district tournament championship with that win over Indian School rather than a loss to Robertson's kind of the only change in our schedule compared to last year. So it was really like kind of eerie that game by game by game, it was almost a replay of last year. So whenever Robertson beat us again, I think this year in the second game of district, I think it was a learning tool. Like, hey, we can be beat. We were obviously on a roll. We were playing good basketball, and Robertson came in and beat us. So I think we learned a lot from that game about ourselves. We learned, hey, we can be beat. Kind of knocked us down back to earth and put us right in a really good position to finish out district and going into the state tournament.
There's always lessons to be learned, and that's a close rivalry. You know each other well, not a lot of secrets. It's funny because I had Coach Bustos on last year when they won, so yes, and that's man, you love to see that Norteño rivalry, man. The North, the North is going to bring it, man. There's right West and Robertson. St. Mike's, there's that little corner. Richard Tripp, who's a very good friend of mine, reminds me that Robertson's just down the street from West, man. In Las Vegas, so he always reminds me of that. But I got to ask you. You sent me your resume. You coached at Mescalero Apache for 1 year, at Texaco for 1 year, at Clayton. You were the head football coach and assistant assistant basketball 1 year under Joey Montoya. And I've talked to Clyde before. 1 year, I was going to have Clyde on my show one time. So you coached under Clyde Sanchez at Clayton, and then you came to St. Mike's. But Dakota, I got to ask you this, man. When I read that, because there was a lot of speculation on who was going to. Gerard Garcia had won a championship, man. He had won one, and he's the acting head coach at Bosque now. I don't know if he's going to stay there, but he did a good job, right? Ron Geyer. There have been some coaches in the past. I told you that I was familiar. St. Mike's has had a great program. What was it? That's a heck of a move, Coach. From Clayton to St. Mike's, man. That's southeast corner of the state. You're going up northeast.
Northeast to central, yep.
Northeast to the central. What was it about? Because when I read it, I'm like, man, I think it was a story by Will Weber that I read about you coming. What was it about St. Mike's that you made that trek, man? Because that's not a small trek. You got family too, right? I'm sure you have family you had to bring too, right?
Yeah, I have a wife and 4 kids that were part of that move. My wife, and that kind of factored in. My wife's family, and she's originally from Estancia, so Clayton, it's my hometown. I was born and raised there. I left, spent obviously college, a couple of years other places, and then the head football job opened up, so that's how I ended up back in Clayton. And all my family's still there. My aunts, uncles, cousins, mom and dad, brothers, sisters, everybody's still there. But I think it was just time for my career-wise to make a change, make a move. St. Mike's opened up. Truthfully, not sure how I even saw it, maybe online or something. And I was familiar and definitely intrigued. They've had a ton of success. They have a historic program. I put my name in the hat and was blessed and lucky that I had some really important people believe in me and give me this opportunity. So the factor of, I think it was time for a change in my career. You also factor in my wife is from this part of the state, and her family is in Estancia. And then the opportunity came up, and I put my application in and got selected in the interview, and then eventually was chosen. I think it was just perfect timing and the right thing to do, and I think we're very happy with the move.
That's great because, like I said, sometimes people that live in a certain region, Clayton is different, right? I told you than Santa Fe,
Yep.
It's a move that you made. I'm sure you didn't make it lightly because you got kids and a wife involved, but you're having your wife live in Estancia or be from Estancia had to help a little bit there. And they made a good choice there. You were in the championship last year and then a state championship this year. And we'll go over an impressive roster, man. We said that Coach Segura and I he kept talking about that, and Coach Segura is so competitive, man. He's in a 3A coach at Sandia Prep, and he's going to have everybody back next year. And when he's in a season mode, you really don't talk to him, man. He loves me, man. He's a really good friend. But when he's in a season mode, hey, man, you might just get a high, and that's it. That's it. So it's nothing personal. But he was impressed with your team. But I've got to ask you, I know Coach Gilbreth, man. I interviewed him. I had much respect for Coach Gilbreth. Texaco beating Santa Rosa last year. I think they repeated this year too.
Yep.
What did you learn under again a great man? The Melrose offensive line over there, man, they're taking some kids from Clovis, and I'm sure Clovis wanted some of those guys. That's the way it is. I'm not saying that's the way it is. I looked at their offensive line. I'm like, oh my goodness, man, those kids were big. What did you get from him? What did you get from Coach Gilbert?
Yeah,
we learn from every coach we work with.
Yeah, no, you absolutely learn. And I'm still learning and growing. He was one thing that he taught me was organization. He's extremely organized. He has an outstanding practice plan. He doesn't leave anything undiscussed or unturned. And one thing about him is you weren't going to out prepare him. He was going to be ready. The game plan was going to be solid, and then the kids bought in, and they see that organization, they see that dedication that you're showing, that coach showed, and we were showing as a staff, and the kids buy in, and they work hard for that, and they appreciate that, and so that's something that he really taught me was his organization and his attention to detail. And yes, it was football, but you can be applied in any. It's coaching,
Right.
Just being prepared, being organized, having a plan, and trying to execute that plan the best you can. And I was very appreciative of that because it played a factor in my head coaching role for football at Clayton, and it still plays a factor now in my head coaching role in basketball. So
yeah, he's a good man, Coach. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about this year's version of the 2025-2026 state champion St. Michael's Horsemen after these messages.